Good afternoon, everybody. Melissa here. And, of course, the belly button. I call her belly button. Her name's Bella. And we are just going on a walk. It is a cooler, sunny day today. And I just thought I'd hop on and talk to you guys about boundaries. And how hard it can be sometimes when, the majority of your life, maybe you might have been like me, where I'm a highly sensitive person and I've been a people pleaser my whole life. Trying to figure out why I've been such a people pleaser my whole life and not laying down those proper boundaries with people. Growing up, I come from a divorced family. I guess you really can't say family if you're divorced and one child. My parents divorced when I was 7, and looking back, my mother, after my father left, she cried for about 3 months, and then she just got very bitter. She closed off her heart, and I do not want that to happen to me, that's for sure. It was very hard being an only child. I seen my dad on the weekends and obviously during the week with my mom. And I was very scared of my mother growing up. The expression, don't cry over spilled milk. I remember one time dropping a gallon of milk in the garage and having it spill everywhere, and I just got my ass reamed out, And you're a kid, and it's an accident. You don't mean to do it. But we all have our moments where we may be stressed out, and we may holler at our kids for things, or if we're struggling with money, but, you don't want things to go to waste. That's a big one for me with my kids, with wasting food, especially with, people actually starving out there. But anyways, I was scared of my mother growing up, like literally petrified. And I seen a video the other day talking about narcissistic parents, narcissistic mother. And the first 5 things that they mentioned on that video, I was like, oh my God, did my mom have narcissistic tendencies? One of them was apologizing all the time. If you find yourself apologizing all the time, you may have been a child of a narcissistic parent. Are you going to get that squirrel? Oh, leave that baby alone. Leave that baby alone. Leave that baby alone. Oh, come on, Belle. Leave that baby. No, come on. Come on. Let's leave that baby alone. Come on. She's squirrel crazy. Anyways, I was always apologizing. I was always scared of confrontation growing up. I would do anything to avoid confrontation, which then caused me to not set any type of boundaries for myself, because I would do anything, say anything, apologize, lie, just to avoid that confrontation, because I was so scared of it, because I was so scared of my mother. We didn't have that loving relationship, like where when you're sad and you just want your mom or your dad, maybe it was your dad for you, but I didn't have that. For me, it was my dog. I was very close with my dog. I always loved animals, but growing up, I was the black sheep of the family. I was very different. So I guess that was hard for my mother because, my cousins they weren't black sheep. They did the same thing and, got good jobs, followed the way of doing things, the conformity, whereas for me, I felt I didn't know how to do that. Like I couldn't conform. It didn't feel right to me. It felt foreign. I was just always very different. And then it made me feel like, what's wrong with me? People always make me think that something was wrong with me because I didn't conform to things the way everybody else did. I always questioned, why are we here? I always felt like I didn't belong on this planet. I mean, I would say these things out loud. Like, I would look up at the sky like, what is all of this? What is all of this for? What is the point, right? Whereas people that I was around, they didn't think that way. They were able to just wake up and do what was, watch the news, get programmed by, the governmental conformity of everything. You got to work, you got to get a house, you got to go to school, you got to do things in this way. And if you don't, well, then something's wrong with you, right? And so that's how I always felt. I always felt something was wrong with me. I got pregnant at a very young age. And I know now, looking back, I did it on purpose just so I could move out of my house, because my mom and we butted heads all the time. I never understood as a child, like when I would want to go do something with my friends and she would tell me no, and I would look for an explanation of like, why couldn't I do this? Why can't I spend the night? And it would always be because I said so. I know that's an old school thing that parents used to do, but why does it make it okay? To me, it doesn't. I would never want to have my kids not have an explanation for something. It's just not right. It's you're emotionally stunting your children, like, by doing that. So I always had to search for my own way. I always had to search for my own answers. And here I am, 48 years old. I've gone through the ringer with things. I've gone through one failed relationship after another, wondering why can't things go right for me, And that's the thing, was because I was always people pleasing. I was always avoiding that confrontation, not standing up for myself. Even when it came to friendships, I've always had a very small friend circle because I wasn't one that wanted to be the most popular or fit in. I was always the outcast, And honestly, it really didn't bother me that much, except for the fact that when I would get criticized or judged for it by my own family for being different, instead of my mother or my family teaching me how to embrace that, it was all out of fear. They didn't understand. They didn't understand me. So when people don't understand things, that's why bullies bully. They bully out of fear because they don't understand. That's exactly what it is. And I have a child that has, I believe it's sensory processing disorder is what it's called. And so now that, dealing with a child that's different, I feel like she was a blessing given to me, going through the things that I went through in my life, not having the explanations of why I was different, or having the support from people of, it's okay, it's okay to be different. No, my mother was the one that would say, you really should care more what people think. And that never sat well with me. What do you have to show for yourself? You have nothing to show for yourself. You really should have stayed in that relationship. You had it all. You had a house, you had a car, but I wasn't in love. I didn't love that person like that. What am I supposed to do? Pretend? I can't do that. Or her biggest one was, marry a rich man. It'll make things simpler for you. And, hearing these things out loud now, it just sounds completely asinine to me. Like, really? Marry a rich man? Like, so you want me to just use somebody for their money? Money doesn't buy happiness. And I know this now that I'm literally have had to start my life over from the bottom. In the beginning, sleeping in my car, I don't know how many sleepless nights I had, crying myself to sleep because I had that guilt or that in the background of my head of my mother, like, what do you have to show for yourself? Like, and it's like, actually what I have to show for myself is I have 5 beautiful kids that I gave birth to. What I have to show for myself is that I have one of the biggest loving hearts out there, and I've let people completely annihilate it and walk all over it and use me. And I am now realizing all of this, realizing that the majority of my life I've led out of fear and guilt. And no more. I mean, it was so freeing to finally realize that here I am, Yeah, so what? So what? I sleep in my car a few nights a week. I take care of a man. The other four, that's my job. I'm a caregiver for a 94-year-old man. And I love helping people. In the beginning, when I was doing it, I was like, oh my God, I'm getting paid for this? Like, I'm getting paid to help people? Like, it almost didn't seem right, you know? Look at how beautiful these flowers are. Oh my gosh. Like, what are those? Those are freaking gorgeous. They look like they belong in Hawaii. Sorry, but yeah. So judgment is evil. It's evil. We are all on this planet trying to do the best job that we can possibly do as a human. And when you don't have that support circle, when you don't have people like that are like you, that you feel understood by, it can feel very lonely. And it can make things very hard. You could feel like you're not doing things right because of all the judgment around you. And especially now in this day and age with technology and the vanity, you know. And now realizing when I look back, because like finally the last few years when my mom was still alive, we actually started to get very close. And I really believe that she started to open her heart up again and realize that that's not what it's all about, you know? Especially because the last few years she was alive, I was still in my marriage. I was with my husband for 14 years. We were married for 12. And it was very toxic. Very, very toxic. But, you know, what's crazy is I love that man. Like, I loved him so much. And I was willing to do whatever it took to make it work. Even if that meant sacrificing myself. Sacrificing my sanity, my happiness. You know, and it just stole from me. It stole, and it left me, you know how it left me? It left me bitter like my mother. It was like a full circle moment of, oh my God, this is what my mom felt like. This is probably what she felt like after my dad left her. And that's the crazy thing too, because my dad was cheating on her and everybody pointed the finger at my father. Oh, he cheated on your mother, what he did to her, blah, blah, blah. That's all I ever heard from family. And it's like, but wait a second, it takes two to tango. Just like, I don't blame my ex-husband for things. I don't sit here and blame him for where I'm at now. I could say, well, I don't have this and this is like this because of the way he treated me. No. I decided to stay in that relationship. I decided to stay and try to make it work. And that was the thing. I felt like I'm only going to get married one time and one time only, so I'm going to make this work. But when it starts to sacrifice your soul, when it starts to sacrifice your happiness, your health, when you actually start having fear for your own life, no, that's when you have to start thinking, okay, something's off balance here, you know? And what I'm trying to say is that be you. No matter if it's a family member, if it's a friend, a child, whatever. Don't sacrifice who you are for somebody else. I tell my kids that all the time. Don't ever care what people think. There's always going to be somebody out there that's going to sit there and judge you because they don't understand you, or they're jealous because you know who you are and you're standing firm in your beliefs. And that was the thing. I was giving and giving and giving to all these relationships and feeling like, what was I getting in return but just my soul being siphoned? Healing is just as hard or harder than when you're actually going through the brunt of a horrible relationship, or if you're having depression or anxiety. Healing, because when you sacrifice yourself for decades to other people, for other people's happiness, it's like it's chipping away a little bit, you know. a little bit away at your own self, a little bit here, and you start to literally lose who you are. Like, I got to a point where I was like, who am I? What do I like? Even though I knew things that I liked, but things weren't making me happy anymore because I had given it all away to everybody. And it just left me empty. I had to realize how to fill up my own cup. Because it was like, growing up, I felt like whenever I started to fill up my own cup of what I wanted, what I liked, I would get judged. So then I would backtrack, apologize, or do things that truly weren't aligned with who I was. Because I was afraid of that judgment. I was afraid, the guilt, that's what it really was. So I have 5 kids. My first I had when I was 18. I had 2 in my 20s and 2 in my 30s. I have multiple fathers of my children, but in each one of them, in the relationships that I had very long relationships with each of them, trying to make it work out, because I was not that one night stand girl that just, got pregnant. But see, I got a lot of judgment from people. I got a lot of fingers pointing at people. I even got people saying, "Oh, you probably have AIDS. You slept with so many people." And that's not how I was at all. I still am not. I tried to make it work. And so when I would be getting judged by family members or my mother, there would always be that comment of, "Oh, look at how many baby daddies you have." And then I'd be like, "Well, you know what? Then don't love your grandkids." Like, how could you even say something like that? But then you want to sit here and show off your grandkids and talk about how much you love them. Like, that's what really bothered me. And so then I had to start to realize that a lot of things that people say about you with the judgment and the ridicule, it's all projection. They're projecting their own insecurities inside onto you because they don't know how to deal with them themselves. That's what it comes down to. They don't know how to be true with their own self and align with themselves of what they truly want, because they're sitting there pretending to make other people happy, thinking that, oh, but I'm doing the right thing. I'm a good person. But how are you being good to yourself then? How are you being true to yourself then if you're sitting there doing things that you know deep down inside you shouldn't be doing? I'm a recovering alcoholic. I haven't had a drink in over 14 years. And I had recently just quit smoking, vaping, THC, marijuana. Used it on and off since I've been 15, but started getting into it heavily again when things in my marriage were starting to go off. Like, it wasn't even that at first. It was the insecurity of myself, of the anxiousness of myself, and then using the excuse of that of, oh, well, it's because I have anxiety. Well, you know what? It was because I wasn't making myself happy. I wasn't being true to myself. I was constantly giving to others first. Kids, spouses, significant others. And then I was always last. And then until I finally just let everything go. Like I said, when I left, I lived with my in-laws. When my ex-husband and I met, it's funny, we actually met in rehab, so that should be a big red flag right there, right? And I actually approached him first, which I had never done before. I wrote him a note, and looking back, I think that a lot of it was more lust in the beginning than anything than love. But then as time went on, I really did love him, but it was toxic. You know why? Because I wasn't loving myself. When you aren't truly loving yourself, you can't possibly love somebody else. It's just impossible. There's no way. You may think you are, but how can you if you don't love yourself? And I didn't realize what that meant until I was left alone at the bottom of the barrel with myself and nobody else but myself. And then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, I was never truly loving myself. I was never aligning with my soul's purpose. I was always giving to everybody else first. So what do you think happened in the end? One failed relationship after another. And yeah, it may have taken 48 years for me to realize this and to go through all this, but guess what? Started from the bottom, now I'm here, baby, right? And that's exactly why that song was made. I get it. You know, it's like you have to be completely left alone with yourself and nothing else to realize if you love yourself or not. And I'm not talking about in that vanity way like, ooh, yeah, baby, I'm loving on myself. But there's a healthy aspect to that where you can have that attitude, that cockiness, but in a good way, where you're still, you know, able to exude love and help others, but knowing that you got yourself. I'm independent. I have a job. I'm taking care of my kids for the most part. Maybe not, I don't have a place right now, but sometimes, you know, I have an extended stay that I stay at. And so what? So what, I stay at an extended stay. Many people stay there. Many people that are starting over, or people that can't afford a house or an apartment, they have things, they have issues going on. Am I going to judge them? Am I going to judge them because this is where they live? This is where they have to take care of what they need to take care of at the moment? Hell no, I wouldn't. Why would I do that? As long as they're trying and they're staying true to themselves and true in their heart. How could I? So that's what I mean. Don't ever be scared to start over, or don't ever be scared because of the judgment. Who cares? Who gives a fuck? Care about you first. Care about what makes you happy first. Because once you do that, then you can truly start to make other people happy in the right way. It'll magnetize towards you, actually. Oh my God, that tree is absolutely gorgeous. Look at this tree. Look at that thing. Holy shit, it almost looks fake. That's absolutely gorgeous. There's two of them. But yeah, I still have a long way to go. I mean, it's always this life, living life is always going to be a learning process the whole time until the day we die. Because how many times have you looked back and been like, oh, if I only would have known this then, what I know now. But that's the thing. And don't be too hard on yourself. That's another thing. Saying, spelling, speaking, that's spells. Like how wizards and witches and people used to cast spells with words. Our words are so powerful. Don't talk bad about yourself. Don't say, oh, I'm so stupid. No, say, I'm trying. I'm doing the best that I can right now with what I have. And things will get better. You have to keep going. You have to keep a positive mindset. You draw towards you. You attract what you would give out. So if you give out negativity, you're going to get back negativity. And I got so much negativity growing up from people, but it's okay. It's okay. I don't blame anybody for the mistakes that I made. I'm responsible for every choice that I've made. We all have a choice. Every day we wake up, we all have a new choice. I'm going to take off, you guys. I got to go. My kids are calling me. They're at the park swinging. But if nobody's told you you're loved, you're worth all the love in the world. Until next time, stay blessed, stay humble. Love you.